Testing, 1, 2.
As promised, the podcast on Charlie Chaplin, City Lights, and my artist Charles Hamilton. I'm Marcavus Johnson, your gracious host, Chief Executive Officer, Kevin Rock Bruce, Chairman of Flatman Aboriginal Civil Society. So, I was at LA Film School and I had to make a podcast about Charlie Chaplin's movie, City Lights. And when I got through watching the movie, the first thing that popped in my mind was Charles Hamilton. You ever see this movie? It's in 1931. Charlie Chaplin begins on this Guadalupe statue, or what you call the Virgin Mary. And if you go to UCLA, you'll see that at the Albion Church. Now, Harvey Bay Publications and also Miguel Hernandez in his dissertation in 2017 said this Albion Church is the headquarters of the Ku Klux Klan. That's how Charlie ended up with the Invisible Man on his second track. Anyway, he's coming with these bed sheets off his head that W.B. Du Bois would call in the Reconstruction Acts. A lot of the people who made the movie, Birth of a Nation by Griffith, were homosexual men saying that the black Union soldiers wanted to have sex with white women, and W.B. Du Bois' contention was slavery itself was not what slavery as you perceive it is in the cotton industry. It was strictly for breeding purposes. After 400 years ago, they committed treason against Alejandro Medici and violated the King John or Tordesillas Treaty of Brazil, King John Great, and those were the results. Breeding. So that was a lot. But anyway, so as he's in the movie, he's coming down. These cops are trying to get him away from this woman. But when he gets away from the woman on the Lady Guadalupe statue, he ends up with a sword thrust. Now, this would describe Charles Hamilton's first record deal with Interscope, and as I call it, the Ice Cube, No Vaseline, Jimmy Iovine. Now, as he gets down, right, you hear him from the Lady Guadalupe statue, he goes off to roam throughout the city. He's looking at this horse and this woman, which is symbolic of what they call them thoroughbreds, horseback riding for breeding purposes. So as he's starting to have these thoughts come through his mind, he meets this blind woman. The woman is blind with like what they call in California, what I like to call the Marilyn Monroe syndrome. A woman that's going to overdose by the time she's 34. Her career going to be very short. So she ends up, as he's watching it, they got like, if you ever see the Walk of Fame, those the trap doors where it just fall through and stuff like that, right? You hear me? And the farther he gets away from that image of this horse and this Lady Venus-like statue, he ends up getting away from that also, right? You hear me? So he's away from these statues, this Virgin Mary, Lady Guadalupe statue, this other statue of this horse and this woman, because he's starting to explore sexuality. Like I said, the blind woman is like the Marilyn Monroe syndrome. Women in California can only see money in the cars. They can't really see you as for who you are, which is actually not required anyway under economic down brand price. All you need to do is be beautiful. Men have to have tax statuses, come from powerful families, what they call aristocrats, right? You hear me? Not the artificial aristocrats. Powerful families, tax statuses, potential earning income, and level of education. So, as he's also going along on his journey, he finds a place because he's being trampled, right? You hear me? Trampled underfoot, as they say in the Bible. And as he's sitting there and he come down, there's this guy, this wealthy man, pretending to commit suicide. So this guy's like, oh, I'm going to kill myself. This is where Charles will eventually get into these suicidal thoughts. And he's trying to save this guy from, I guess, jumping and drowning himself or something like that. And he ends up drowning, trying to save him. We have a similar statue to that called Tom Lee Park in Memphis, Tennessee on the Mississippi River. It used to be an obelisk by the pyramid where it say birthplace of the rock and roll home of the blues. And you'll see this man, what we call Uncle Tom, saving these white people in the original Titanic story. We'll go to Memphis by Muir Island, where the original Ark and those gold dust operations, the real gold rush of 1849. You'll see what I'm talking about. Right? So we teach about electricity, power plants, and their relationship to Indian with smoking and drinking practices. Because I also was looking at some in Beverly Hills where they say the Indians helped the Spaniards and then they ended up in slavery. That's why I believe the delineation is very important. The next thing you know, California ain't founded by the actual Aboriginals. It get founded by some lady named Maria and her 7 kids. That's broad. But anyway, so this guy, he gets him to his house. And he's getting them drunk. And as he's constantly drinking with him, like if you hear Charles on that album, fell on the tree, and say he was drugged and somebody took advantage of him, the guy is just constantly pouring his liquor down his pants, right? You hear me? To get in his pants, right? You hear me? He's pretending that he's showing him a good time, but in reality, he was trying to get in his draw. Right? So that's what ended up happening. Give me a second. So he's drunk, he got in his drawers, and they're at this party, right? Now keep in mind, he said, come on, get the Rolls Royce, right? You hear me? Get the Rolls Royce. So and things of that nature. So he ends up grabbing a gun. Keep in mind, right? You hear me? So I'm guessing he done got him drunk, he got a gun in his hand, a gun point. And all of a sudden, Charlie Chaplin at the goddamn piano, you hear me, right, bent over. So anyway, while they out at these parties, the men are trying to stop Charlie Chaplin in the movie. Say for instance, you're a Grammy Award show, Oscar Award show, and the men intentionally are watching for which women are coming Charlie Chaplin way. Remember, all his first platinum song was called Brooklyn Girls, with the porn star, it's Lacey Duval. Lacey Duval used to hang around some of the baddest women in the industry, in the porn industry, or something, before they found out that the breeding practice was wrong, because the Aboriginals, even people that diabetes had studied, so they were breeding the wrong people. So anyway, that's why Hustle's closed today. The sperm bank at the Hyatt agency back in the day, a couple years ago. So anyway, while he's at this party, they're intentionally running interference for any woman that he can be in a relationship, while simultaneously these homogeneous men, what we call Ku Klux Klan, are basically like molesting and kind of harassing these women at the party, right? You hear me? And every woman that he dancing with, they're constantly interfering, right? You hear me? With that inclusionary Pinocchio mindset. Like I said, you ever see the movie Pinocchio? We're gonna make you a big star. You're gonna work hard, and we're gonna make all the money and send you to Pleasure Island, where they come as boys, but they don't leave as boys. You hear me? But boys. So anyway, man, thank God for Jimmy Cricket, nigga like myself. You hear me? Saved me out of this situation. Charles Chaplin, aka Pinocchio. City Lights, 1931. So when eventually, once he used them up, this is his first record deal, he kicks him to the curb, right? And now all of a sudden, this mansion that with his Rolls Royce is what this man he's with, you hear me? Now all of a sudden they act like they don't know him anymore until they need him again. So I think he still had the keys to the Rolls Royce. He goes out on this little date with the blind lady thing, right? She's like, oh, Mom, he was so nice. He drove me around in his car and gave me $3 more than what I needed. And I'm like, oh, okay, you hear me. But she's blind, so she only see the car and the money. Like I said, she's not, they could be symbolic, right, that she's blind, right? Most women can't never see men for who they are in California, so they call them blunts, and women who adopt their mindset, right? The lepers. So, follow-up in the movie, right here, comes part 2. This guy, he's just throwing cigarettes. Charlie Chaplin is riding around in a Rolls Royce, and these men, like they do in California, they try to drive your pockets in the ground, and they throwing cigarettes on the ground, because they know he needs something to smoke. And you see him jump out the Rolls Royce, Charlie Chaplin, and make a homeless man get out the way so he can have a cigarette. And these are ways they use to basically try to degrade your value, your currency, and your culture. Like I was telling Charles, the reason why it was so easy for me to believe the story, because when I used to be around Lucci Piani, which was the judge of the LGBT community, along with RuPaul, right? You heard me. At the time, I didn't know who he was. It came out the director deal, 2017. This was around the time I was applying for multi-billion-dollar grants for climate change and biodiversity, or what Einstein would call the general theory of relativity and eugenics, but in Egyptology we call it the Aten or Akhenaten or Harem crisis, with King Tut. They were worshiping the sun disk, and King Tut was like, no, you got to worship the Amen, and if you don't agree with it, we'll change this council of 12 men he police, what they call it, Helio police, to her police, what they call like Chip's minister, philosopher, and them folks who defeated the prostitutes of Babylon, the household. So with Chips. So that and they say King Tut died is really the Joseph story. About we just the man in the Iron Man. He became the leader of the captain of the guard. You heard the end of the distribution because he found out the bull and the 7 cows still. You can't have Snow White and the 7 doors and eating the apple type shit. You heard me? And that leads to polygamous economic disaster versus the one man with 7 women. Right, you hear me? She had a hard time figuring out came good. Now, in the book of Tobit, like in Ruth and his Hazel story, they would go on and say that man would marry the prostitute without the one and go into the media. Now, how true it is, I still say look at the Philosopher Macito stories and Giovanni Boccaccio, the Cameron, where he just bred with all of these women and the cousin. So, after so his second record deal, right, with Republic. The man found it and ran his pockets in the ground, got his money low, and he like, come on, get in the road with us, come on, be back with me. Here they go again, this industry, these invisible men, bring them in. Like I said, the invisible men have always been known as the homosexual people's clan, just like W.D. Du Bois would say in the Reconstruction Act. So, they were jealous of black men breeding with the women. That's what slavery was for. That's why I say, remember Dave Chappelle said on when he made that thing about the baby, he said, the release of the baby, and he said, man, if I would have known on the plantation, budding yourself up with all this oil and shit would have got me out of slavery. He said, shit, niggas have been out there. You hear me? Fuck the basketball shit, Cat Williams talking about. Niggas have been out there. Come on, miss, such and such, what you be playing, can't get right in that motherfucker. You hear me? And looking at Nate Rose like, oh, I'm about to tear your ass up. You know, you hear me? So, anyway, so he comes back again, and he puts them in the same scandal. They go through the whole rigmarole all over again. He Charles sleeping with the man, right? You hear him? This is very much Charles Hamilton would tell me his career was perfectly aligned with this movie, City Lights. So now he ends up being trampled on the foot after his second record deal, and after the little, because this is after the debacle with the Mary J. Blige dog and things of that nature. Because I'm looking at the Angie Martinez interview with him when he made the City Lights, him and Rita Ora. And then I look at Brown Sugar, because I would play like basically like a Tay Diggs character, and he would be like the dope MC, like Mos Def in this situation. Who is kind of like he got skills, but he on some David Ruffin type shit. Yeah, he can function somewhere. And I'm like an executive that's not gonna endorse any type of whack ass rappers. You feel what I'm saying? Or just these gimmicks and these bullshit ass acts. Like I'm just not with it. You hear me? That's why I have my own company, Capital Book. Right here, that's why I'm doing executive producing a movie. Even though I'm going to LA Film School for movies, I already have control of distribution and publishing and royalties. And a lot of people that's on the Empire soundtrack, I know you might be or anything to do with those projects. Empire soundtrack itself, remember, is a spinoff of a movie called Hustle and Flow about Memphis people who already make, already sell bud and stuff, what you call your dispensaries or OnlyFans today. We already created that lane. And our dream was to be in the entertainment industry. A lot of these entertainers wanted to be street people like us. We wanted to be entertainers. So me, I never really made it in the entertainment industry, but I made it as a businessman and I made it as a soldier. Right? You hear me? So it became a chief of mission. So by me owning all this shit, you hear me? Then I could now act or be around. I can participate in it because I don't like you don't have to star in your own movie. But due to the fact I have talent, if my artists are falling off or my other people can't perform, I still know how to perform. I be the chip and dead, whatever it take to get the job done. You hear me? Right? Because it's still me. I'm the real aboriginal type nigga. Like I said, all pharaohs only had low, short aboriginal people. You hear me? The hello, the Jimmy the Crickets of Pinocchio. We always kind of show up through our history. You hear me? As griots, a person that knows the language and traditions and customs of all people on planet Earth and can articulate that. You hear me? What they call pantomimes for the curves. Right? You hear me? So, like, cause I remember, like I said, the same dream they sold to Charlie Chaplin gonna be with the Rihanna's gonna be with this. You couldn't really sell me the like we should be on it. How I got him. I had access to his Instagram one time and I played Dr. Francis Chris Wilson, the ISIS papers. But basically, right, you hear me? So it's 2017, me and Lucy chilling, right? Keep in mind, like, well, that was back then. They respected don't ask, don't tell military policy. You gotta keep that shit to yourself. Now we got some business, and at the Directors Guild, this is around the time what had happened was I played for Dr. Francis Chris Wilson shit, and all of a sudden, Me Too shit popped off. The Weinstein shit popped off, the Epstein shit popped off, right? You hear me? Because now women became educated on what was happening, what they were participating in. Even the cops say it caught on because they were even selling them dreams. This is around the time a lot of the soldiers had their commissions and bonuses took because they were listening to the damn fools like them talking about, oh, we're going to make you a big star. They were even Pinocchio and cops. And Pinocchio and girls. Like, that shit was bad, like, for real. That's how bad it was. But it started to clear up, but they were bitter and salty about it. Like Andrea Gleason, the tune would say that hip-hop executives, 90% of the companies are white men that can't even rap them damn selves. So it's a rare case that you'll find yourself with a Master P or a Jay-Z or even a person like Marcavia Johnson that not only do I know business just as well as any man on planet Earth, international or whatever, intergalactic if need be, I also am a great artist myself. So, after his second deal, right, you hear me, he goes on another housing crisis, like what they call the DEI fraud, to get $22, trying to get this house or to save this woman. So he's going on these suicidal missions, right, you hear me, throughout his career. And I would watch perfectly aligned. Now, in the end of the movie, Charlie Chaplin, after he gets $22 for the girl and he goes to his third debacle, which is where he kind of in his career right now, he would, how do you say, find love, right? You hear me? But truth be told, the real Charles Hamilton, who basically Charlie Chaplin in his career, right? You hear me? Because they got another guy, they said like Buster Key or something like that. It was pull these amazing stunts. Keep in mind, all of this stuff that's going on at this time is around the time Marion Davis and William Randolph Hearst were running Metro Graham Meyer in 1937. Remember, Bumpy Johnson would take over Hollywood, him and Luciano. And that's what, because Marion Davis was mad at the black man, but what she realized was she went out with some sailors that same when she was that drunk Irish man and took over Hollywood or whatever like that. But they was like, look at these immigrant girls that are being raped by these sailors because they can barely speak English or barely know what's going on in America. And she ended up, you hear me, as I say, sucking dick in Hitler office. That's what happened to her. You know, and trying to figure out how to put this man's career back together because he was running with pedophiles. See, it's easy to catch. I ain't the first person that caught people in Hollywood running human trafficking scandals. It happened in 1937. Bumpy Johnson did it to him. Right? Keep in mind, a lot of times when they bring up these world wars and this, there, and that, there are niggas there. Just when they were World War II, W.B. Du Bois and them was there, much there. Mordecai Johnson still raising money for HBCU. Smart black people have a tendency to maneuver around all that weak shit. Like, okay, you white people want to fight. Jack Johnson, get up here and get on stage and knock him out. Boom! You hear me? Yeah, you hear me? Shit like that, you hear me? We got damn fools in our family. There's some big brutes too that just knock you out. We can do it too, but it's not. We have more productive things too. We delegate authority to smaller people that can handle it. We say too light overload, I send through my lieutenants. So yeah, so around these times, right, you hear, regardless of what's going on with fake war, Lord of War Kung gang, you're sending resources out just to send it back to us, you hear me? In reality, keep in mind, the school funding itself is backed by what? Lottery tickets and taxes. The whole national debt is money you owe black people. And even the schools in particular, we invented that number system. That was the whole Harlem hoodlum crisis, right? You heard me? Those lottery tickets that fund the education system, created by niggas. And you can feel how you want to say about that word, Nigeria, Nicaragua, Ethiopian king of king, the nigga, or what they call Rastafari, Hasalasi, the Mark John nigga, just like Mark John in the Book of Apostle, Act 13, called him at Pinocchio Island, and the governor was in the scandal. It's the same thing. They were singing songs, right? You hear me? Like the apostles to open up these doors. It's the same thing. And he was the leader of the emperor of the military police. You hear me? Dragoon, you hear me? Nigga, I might get your motherfucker. Yeah, so like, whether you know it or not, you hear me, like, for real. So a lot of those Leopold stories, like at Greystone, Tarzan, you hear me, and all of those crazy shit, there's no white man named Lord Grey, you hear me, it's black man, you hear me, don't fool yourself. Yeah, they tell you the Greys are, in particular, the direct descendants of the ancient Egyptian Aborigines. That's why they wear the opals, the Byzantine Empire. That's why you see certain white women with the old positive lineage. That's why they have a tendency to like wealthy niggas. Because when you get wealthy, you hear me? Like I tell people, California is segregated. The only X factor is gold diggers. You hear me? That's the only time other than that. That's why a lot of people have that diversity, equity, inclusion mindset. But California is segregated. Even in the legal system, they already know that. Blacks over here, whites over there. The only exception, you hear me, they use as women is gold diggers. Which ain't always good for majority of the Negro's career. You can have make $1 billion like Kanye West and have babies and still have baby mama drama. So how you avoid all that? I teach the economics of dowry, grab price. So you won't be in these P Diddy scandals. You won't be in these crying over child who got custody of children. Teach get a prenup. So you already have a understanding. So if crises break out, because I'm not telling you not to date. You can date whoever the fuck you want to date. Just know what you're getting into their relationship for and why. Right? Is it business or pleasure? Right? You hear me? And if it's business, draw contracts up and then engage in those sexual acts with those women. That's because that's what protected Bill Cosby later in his career and other people in his career. No, we had to understand it before we had sex. This is what we're gonna do. And it's bad, right? Because in the black culture, we don't have to draw up paperwork before we engage in any type of marital affairs or consummation. But when you're dealing in international affairs, that's why they call those treaties. Treaties are just like the movie Dark Knight, right? You draw up a treaty, contract with this country, or Spanish, Asian, European, or African, whatever the case may be, and you say, yeah, I want to make your daughter an honest woman, and we allocate resources and royalties amongst the families like this, just like in the Book of Numbers, right? The real Tarzan story of Tarzan is in the Book of Numbers, by the numbers in the Bible. The Maccabees, what they call the Treaty of Kadesh, the Hanukkah stories, those Esther stories. Right, you hear me? Well, the nigga is in power, right? You hear me? And sometimes the woman can remind, hey, remember you supposed to be with me, so my family about to get killed. And she remind him of it. He's like, oh, yeah, don't kill him. You leave him alone. That's why treaties operate. That's why Trump and them keep invoking the supremacy clause. What is the supremacy clause? It has nothing to do with white or black supremacy. Those are treaties, ancient treaties, first world peace treaties during the time of Order of Melchizedek. The only difference between me and the regular Levites and the musicians, remember Melchizedek, I went to law school 15 years ago. Pimp and say, nigga, I ain't no pimp. I pimped 15 years ago. And remember they told Melchizedek, you are the only priest that's different from the other priests because I don't have to take off my shoe, which is basically like in the book of Ruth, marry a woman to redeem my real estate stocks or nothing because I'm a boss in and of myself like Ptah. Remember the Ptah story was dealing with a lot of plagiarism by Satan, right? You heard me. They was doing the castrating and got caught in the RICO X charge. He like this almighty. Levites by default are musicians. Jay-Z, Reed, Ezra, and Nehemiah. But Melchizedek is a different type of priest because he collected his money while he was alive and didn't have to have sex with anybody. Man, woman, nothing. Matter of fact, he said, I'd rather masturbate. You hear me? That's where that masturbate word comes from. But the OnlyFans type shit, the nuns, the nymphos. Right? Like the goddess Nuke, you hear me? And all that old stuff. She want that nut, baby. Kiss that nut, baby. So, the Forbidden Kingdoms, right? Now, Asians would try to do it with the Forbidden Kingdom in the time of the Ming Song Dynasty, failed horribly. Other cultures would go on and try it, the Arabian Night. All of these things failed and their land became a desert. 12 quarter zones is where I got a picture of things of that nature. But it works with the Aboriginals, and that's what Lucky Luciano was telling them when to do it. That's when niggas was after their ass. He was like, hey, look, without these Aboriginals doing what they do, we won't be able to send resources to not only to our stores, but to our country, because that's how it operates. Like I said, when I was 5 years old in elementary school, I spoke different languages. I knew how the Tennessee Valley Authority, the electrical companies, use Aboriginal practices for the resource and electric grids. Like I say, Einstein's general theory of relativity and eugenics, what they call it climate change, Agenda 21, Item 33, biodiversity, and climate change, most important things. And you have to make media things about it, right? You heard me. As a pantomime of procurements of royal families, just like in the 48 Laws of Power. You understand? From patron families, right? If you are a patron family, like the Grays, the Johns, and the Murrays, anybody know that? It's common sense. It's not really that complicated. So, like I said, Charles is a very nice guy, but sometimes the industry can do things to you that fuck you up. Like I said, I think it's better. And I remember telling myself when I was winning talent shows, and people was like, Marquez, why are you going to the military? Why are you going to college? Because I said, if I ever do actually want to be an entertainer one day, I have so much education that I don't know bullshit contract when I see it, or something that I need, a contract that I need to get. And also, if I ever get into a fight, you hear me, right? You hear me, military-wise, you hear me, I have people knock your ass off. You feel what I'm saying? That's why even the military, you hear me, I didn't fraternize or do none of that horse playing. I didn't do none of that shit, right? Up until now I know about meal-to-meal contracts, about those military power couples. Like back in the day, they used to say, when you retire, you get an Asian lady in a Rolex. The old military MILF. But anyways, yeah, you retire, you get the Asian lady in the goddamn, what's that shit called? Yeah, and gold watch, but those are called meal-to-meal contracts, like those power couples. Because being part of the military and the church, powerful priest family, right? They call you an aristocrat, right? You hear me? Now, some people, they call it, some can be considered artificial aristocrat because they still don't have talent, right? You hear me? Remember, Jesus was giving these men talents, or what they call pounds. This man turned his 5 pounds to 10. This. Basically, they capitalized. Another man, he just sat there and did nothing. You know, like the Israelite brothers, right? So their brother, they sat around and did nothing, just lying. And Jesus, like, you should at least put it with the bank. You heard me? At least if the money got caught up in the bank, I would have got tied up in the treasury somewhere. I can go back and get that. You just sitting around not doing nothing. Because that's another oxymoron. You can't be a Hebrew and Israelite at the same time, because the Israelites are the people who sold their brother Joseph out, just like the disciples. And a Hebrew is something that you do when you cross over from homogeneous Sodom and Gomorrah to heterogeneous. But don't be like the trees that act like during the time of Allah beat you, like the Pharaoh of the Egyptian 6th dynasty, when you trying to bring a woman and use her to commit Title 18 treason and conspiracy, still benefits from the treasury. Because whether you're aware of it or not, you know how ant hill or a beehive works, just like the treasury. It's what we call the state-sponsored treasury robbery today. You can't fuck with that structure because the human beings have a structure the same way ant hills and beehives do, because it helps us go through our monarchy stage or our butterfly stage where we come as caterpillars, baby, but we flourish with our angel wings here on planet Earth. So, like I said, you hear me, like when you listen to after the song Saturn, I get to talking about Uranus, right? You hear me? A lot of people, like I said, you don't really know how to make the album. I had them study certain books, read certain things, and I was giving him crew cards, and he gonna go on and say, you hear me, he said, I was drugged, man, you hear me, this happened to me, and I was kind of like a lost words in the middle of a freestyle. You ever been in a cypher? That was one thing I had, like, wait a minute, you know what, in the middle of it, I had to change up the crew cards and the journals and shit that I had, and pulled up Agenda 21. And these Gerald Manson books, Ancient Egypt, Light of the World, I'm like, hey, these one. Hey, you should have seen this shit, you hear me? I'm already lit too, you hear me? I'm pretty fast on my feet when I'm documenting something, you hear me? So I should, and I saved them on that song, I really did. And I snapped them back, right? You hear me? I really did. And I felt like, you know, the most deaf, like, in Tay Diggs in that movie Brown Sugar, right? You hear me? And that nigga like, man, is they ever gonna release the album? Is they ever gonna release the royalties? I'm like, yeah, fool, we gonna get it done. You hear me, right? You hear me? Because sometimes people, when they at that career, and they like, man, I don't know how we had 2 bad record deals. Fuck those in the industry. I have no friends, you hear me? I'm like, man, you got a friend, what they say, ain't me. You know what I'm saying? You hear me right now? A lot of times, certain people, they don't understand that there are certain aspects of life, like military, like priesthood, families, things that need to be done on an international scale, treaty-wise, to clear up those situations. They don't really see all of the work that goes into it. They think some men we just snap our fingers and shit happen. Man, sometimes if it's structured right, if the business model is perfect, right, perfection is a thing. There's a real estate process, but when the government don't do it, they call it treason. So it ain't the fact nobody ain't perfect. That means the government ain't functioning properly, right? That's why the military has to usurp authority over the police and the judge, because they're not doing their job. They call it writ of mandamus. So a lot of people are like, oh, what does it mean? What happened at security was known a writ of mandamus. I had won in trial $2 trillion, right, in December. Which is why you have your President Trump in power. People are like, why would you want Trump in power? Let's say this again. Donald Trump is written in the goddamn history book 200 years ago. You can't make this shit up. Johnson Mary Graves do what's known as hip-hop parade. That's why I was fooling him. I said, this is the only European man that has put billions of dollars in one black man's pocket. That is the actual culture of Egyptology, or any type of Aboriginal tradition. That's the Chippewa tribe tradition, where we let them be a representative and speak for their people, right? You hear me? We Isaiah, read the Maccabees story 1 and 2. That's an ancient treaty. But like remember Career 14, Tom Jefferson businessman said, once the black man is free, what real job does he have left? They like the Romans would say nothing. Shit, breed with the women. You know, if little shit pop off here and there with our people, we know how to handle them for doing that bullshit. So we let them, just like Bumpy Johnson did, and then move a hood and be like, look, check your people for real, pop in the fuck them. And they know that, you hear them, they be like, look, we, right, because this has something to do with agriculture and commerce, hoes and housewives, whether you were aware of it or not. But we call it economics of dowry and bride price. So, in closing, I got to work on, like I said, I can't always be on these podcasts like I normally do, so I try to put a couple posts of educational web. Like I said, Algorithm Dance Art Science Online University was perfect. If you listen, I already kind of teach you the 401st Man, Secretary of State, irrecoverable imagery record, ancient Egypt, light, the world, German man's beginning, the Bible, the Quran, the Kama Sutra, 101 sex position, 64 arts, Miguel Hernandez, 5% of the Freemason, Ku Klux Klan. My book, Marcavius Johnson, Land of Milk and Honey, Economics of Dowry and Bride Price by Warren Anson, British Columbia University, Dave Malone, Security Council, 2005. Know what a W2 is, a W4 and a W8, all these different things, W9s, and how they function in Europe and tax-wise. Make sure I leave Benjamin Banneker, Query 14, Thomas Jefferson correspondence with the Almanac clocks and not Poor Richard. Right? You hear me? And all of these things of this nature. So you can read those books for yourself, but I realize that you need technology, like Major Taylor Greene found the Matilda machine, you know what I'm saying? You hear me? The University of Michigan, because you don't want these people playing with these numbers, because those numbers are the very honey, right, that the beehive is producing, or that anthill to get the workers. And once those structures are, or these people that's trying to go on a solo mission, so they go through their monarch or metamorphosis, right? You hear me? Not a transatlantic slave trade. Right, you hear me? So though we got rid of a lot of these unsaved characters, a lot of those people that used to work for those people are accountability. And what it really is, right, you hear me? They didn't know they were in slavery. Like a lot of people that got deported. Did you know they were fagging your people and putting them in slavery? This is like, if you ever studied British people, or like I said, Gerald Massey, right, they'll tell you. They say, how did you put the niggas in slavery? We fagged them. What is fagging? Put construction workers next to schools. In vulnerable positions when they're in poverty, right? That's why you see a lot of these men riding around in garbage trucks, patrolling the neighborhood, looking for weak people to exploit. As Donald Trump said the other day, yeah, you look tough till we get on your way. Meanwhile, I'll be in the media, right? Just like Neil Chester did. Till we knock the hell out you, you hear me? You think you can fight, you hear me? Till we decide to fight you, you hear me? Then you're going to find out that you couldn't fight, you never stood a chance. And what you don't realize is, like I tell people, the police might arrest you, but we're military, we're not here to arrest you, we're here to take you out. And at the rate you going, you hear me, you like a hop, skip, and a jump, you hear me, from just getting wiped out completely. Now, we don't want to, what they say, minimum casualties, minimum collateral damage, right? You hear me? We don't want to destroy Hollywood, right? That's not a good idea. Right, but a lot of people, as they say, W.B. Du Bois, he said some of these people are adamant, as W.B. Du Bois said. Adamant means they would rather go through the 1862 Confiscation Act, right? You hear me? Just have all their stuff taken from them. A lot of these people with these slavery, transsexual mindsets, right? These transaction thinking people, right? You hear me? They would rather go through the 1862 Confiscation Act and have everything taken from them before they ever admit the truth. And in a situation like that, then that's exactly what the fuck we're doing. So, I'm an American soldier. I'm a warrior and a member of a team. I serve the people of the United States and live the armed values. I always place the mission first. I will never accept defeat. I stand ready to engage, deploy, and destroy the enemies of the United States of America in close combat, foreign and domestic. Peace out, Girl Scout. Love, peace, and her grease. And like I said, when you think that the Dendera Zodiac didn't work, then how you get a Pam Bundy, a Tulsa Gabbard, but Pete Healthself left the news company to go back to the fight. You feel what I'm saying? From being a celebrity, right? You hear me? He ain't part of the Dendera Zodiac, it's still me, but I'm just saying though, the ones that participate, that's understanding the rank structure. Rank structure is why the military is violated. You hear me? You have all types of problems with life. Just to don't say shit, you hear me, because you think you won't be disrespectful, and what your guy say, you all that talking gonna get your people killed, because you think you just gonna overtalk me, you hear me, disregard, you hear me, when I'm advising you to do something, and when you fuck around, get defunded, deported, right, you hear me, and remember, that's not deported, it's not a bad thing, because if they were putting your people in slavery and chopping their penises off, That was a very bad practice, right? That ram seed and shit. And it should have been a pit home with potato trees and not ram seed. We saved your people from being enslaved. And that's the story. Don't fool yourself. Oh, they just kid. Because we had the money. No, that was not what they were doing, y'all. They were cutting the kids' penises off, the men, and raping the little girls. You heard me, pedophiles, and introducing, passing laws that's still in place today that need to be repealed, saying that they can worship the devil in Christian elementary school. That's what they were doing to these people. And we stopped it, as we were supposed to. Getting like the Rock, you hear me? Stealing military veteran benefits and giving to them with those crazy, you hear me? Shit's crazy. They had veterans on the street sleeping shit, yeah, for real. But we won. There's a couple better people here and there, yeah, but we won. We got it done. And got kind of smoothed it out. So that's perfect. That's perfect for us. That was the United Nations joint that you were just listening to. So I guess I'll let the last part ride out with the song.
From the grave, so I don't want COVID-19, the steady flu, you know what I'm saying? Order down black blade, illegal immigration terrorists, fake deputies and sheriffs, pretend to be land real free the home of the brave. Now you from the land of transnational criminals and hermit transnational slave trade catching you heard me. Y'all remember that song back in the day, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Should have been like my King Johnson wrote Land of Milk and Honey, or Government for Dummies, how to make some money. Yeah, that ain't talking about nothing, we gonna keep hustling, keep balling and stunning. Yeah, on your bitch back, doing these punches, yeah. Never been a monkey, but known to ride on a bitch horse while you acting the fucking donkey. Yeah, nigga, we big stopping like the Johnson brothers back in the day, but it's still my kids for Charles Murray Johnson, dad's great. Say it right when you say how I'm a fool. When we reading for the truth, yeah. This knowledge is knowing, but the wisdom is applying. You niggas is ignorant while you dying, yeah. Live forever, nigga, big stepper, yeah. Stepping on something like the pyramid, young shit, the great disease. Stepping on them like the pyramid. Gotta build bricks so they hear the shit. The bricklayers ended up becoming the dick slayers. Ain't that a bitch? I'm doing them a big favor. I'm growing up too. A minute ago I would've just said fuck you, but now I build with the shit. I kill with the shit. I'm still with the shit if y'all niggas building this shit. Not Bill Bellamy, but I know how to be the player that can watch you little teams. Not a controller, it's all in the mind. Off the top like solar, follow me sometimes. Doing me, that's what I need to do to get the jewelry. Put a ring on the finger of my chick, even though that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. See, roasted millions, I boosted millions. I didn't lose the ball, I lost control of y'all. By y'all going crazy, the whole existence, the planet, y'all know save the babies. Yeah, ain't lose nothing. Only thing was Terrence Howard and Taraji B. Henson started with hustle and flow. Empire soundtrack made some more dough. With New York rain about a nigga in jail that freed himself from hell. Oh well, yeah, made more money than the motherfucking bills and the motherfucking international players. Stars on earth. Yeah, but we got the blessing, not the curse. Everything we doing, man, we make that shit work, yeah. The words that we speak become law. That's why a lot of niggas don't like when we speak, cause they gang full of flaws, yeah. But ain't no parasites or leeches. We hosting the show. We doing it slow so we can do it some more, you know? Hey, man, sometimes I sit back and think, man, can a sinner become a marital service, you know what I'm saying, the 9 fruits of the spirit? Could a prostitute of Babylon become the Virgin Mary? Hell yeah, sometimes thoughts like that could get scary when you're doing the exorcism. But what the fuck is a hope in God? Yeah, a lot of you niggas living fraud. The whole teaching of Egyptology learning how to get your dick hard when the nigga try to castrate you. Make sure you ain't getting no pussy. All you gotta do is listen to what I said. Stay away from the tail from the hood rookies and keep focusing on that lookies. You can't wear your sex face. Tell that bitch hold that coochie a gate. Man, they like Don Henry Clark. You wanna get to heaven, the woman pussy is the gate. Yeah, 4 leg, 3 leg, 2 leg. What kind of man? A straight man, not a fake man, not an artificial man. That's that formed the Ku Klux Klan with a made up history. Man, these niggas history.
We create our own perceptions of ourselves. Not let people try to play with camera images and jump cards. Make our tragedies a tragedy, another tragedy. We turn tragedy into triumph over here.
We You don't press play on yesterday. Niggas said slavery is a choice. But you chose to raise your voice like you I do what I mostly would like to do. The mic is true. And the dynasty is what we do. Cause the improvement on these good niggas on your ass is true. So what it do?
And all these people from Australia that don't like algorithms over there in Crown Land and Queensland, but over here smoking all this weed, trying to use my case in 2013, you had nothing to do with it, you heard me? And my UN work, you heard me? Stop it. Chaplin out the way. Yeah, remember the people in Australia, the foreign affairs man, what do people in Australia come to the United States for? It's called the E-visa. What is the E-visa? Australian woman that wants to trade spouse and investor. They're swingers, right? And what is the treaty? She wants sperm. You hear me? Yeah, you hear me? So don't get that twisted neither. Don't get that twisted. The people from Australia, as recording the foreign affairs manual on the visa, that those women are trying to be our spouse treaty traders.
Man, I was looking at some meal to meal
contracts, right? That's what that's for. And old Bush or tobacco, so what they call Schedule 1 good, like Jesus said in the Bible, right? You heard me. They said, where did these weeds come from? Jesus said, the enemy put this here, but leave it right there where it's at. Because we're going to use it all year. You heard me. Evidence of why we got control of these dispensaries and the rest of the stuff.
Where they go, I may not know. Still, I understand the trade. Kind of hard to understand a slave.
They say Kudo wasn't planning no more. I guess I brought it back. I know if y'all really like where I put the album together, I named it after the 9 planets. Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. I thought it would be a good way of me reiterating the Magic School book. Rest in peace, Malcolm Jamal Warner, the executive producer. I guess this the part you hear me in the movie where I play like Malcolm Jamal Warner. I speak at the end, but we still got 3 movies that we got to work on, right? We got Leprechaun's Lawyers, right? You heard me talking about some licensing the people that did the stuff with World Days and stuff like that to show that his Pogo, his Rainbow, his Magic Flute. This is what Jerry Nance said, the Todd Kemper out of Aboriginal stories, and they try to make them look like a bad guy, right? And also the other movie, Our Ship is Ministry, about the Apostle Mark John that wrote to the churches in Asia on Pinocchio Island, X-13, and hip-hop population and son, and religion presupposed to I moved the Quest for a Silver Fleece about WB board about Mr. Grady on the pie industry and passed away and left to Miss Grady, and she ended up getting Bloody Mary, goddamn Neil Tudor, and Jean Grady out there, you know, and they ended up reproducing what they call the treaty with their children, trying to force themselves into the bloodline, call it Quest for a Silver Fleece, and end up with his niece, Saul. Yeah, that's the Genesis 3rd age story. I should have these women in my son. So I got involved in that type of relationship. Remember how it kind of works with those things. The paperwork was paperwork, even like in Genesis 3rd age. And there's no consummation of marriage. You just be on the B1, B2, B for pleasure. So it's something big. Yeah, so you realize what actually throws out your situation. Yeah, drop that to the cat. As they say, oh, on my left. Yeah, put you in the international now. And it's a rap.
Like it's Rudy in the beat, but ain't no white boy. I'm a great stone mansion in the council. I'm gonna roll with the real great gang beat. Ain't no gas to me unless you paying the gas to me. And I don't still blow bloods with pumps. I know these niggas trying to put some trash in me, but I gotta keep my motherfucking spiritual vessel clean. And you should do the same too. Detox from the rookies, and you can come back too. And the ghosts are like, come back through. You want that groove? The flow is an instrumental. Dope and it isn't simple, complex. Let it come from thy chest. Rise up until thy confess. Yeah. Speaking soulfully, got me speaking globally. You know who I be. And I still got that. Still got threats on my life. Still I have sex every night. But ain't no stress. It's some niggas that stress. Cause they money didn't stack up right. A lot of you niggas need to say good night, midnight, or noon. Man, you niggas is doomed. A lot of these bitches playing with they
by the power of Grayskull, little man, nigga. We close, man. Alright. So this is the last song on the album, but this won't be the last album, right? You hear me? We got a lot more. Like I said, there are 3 ciphers that I learned from Gerald Massey. One I did by myself, that was Albert's Dance to Arts and Science, guitar. This one I do like with a person in charge that called up worshiping Satan, and Satan wanted to have a cipher with the priest. You heard me? I got him in it. And my newest one that I'm working on is the one with the 9 musicians. Right, you heard me. Me and 9 when we, like I said, we was in the studio with 9 microphones. I'm teaching them how to do soul ciphers, and like I already got all the instruments and stuff for it. We're gonna get to work, right? You heard me? Make these soundtracks for these 3 movies. You heard me? So man, all piece of her. For Todd got the hip hop now.